a Chinese proverb I want to share with all of you. It says, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Show him how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. So to me, this is very relevant to education, because you give somebody an education and you equip them to take care of themselves and their family for all their lives. And to me, that's what my father did for me, or that's what my parents did for me. So in the next slide, I'll talk about myself. So I was born in Juba, and like most South Sudanese my age, I started my primary school in Juba. When the war intensified, as the school system was disrupted, we moved to Khartoum. And I finished my high school in Unity High School in Khartoum. Now, in Khartoum, it was a challenge because the schools were few, transportation is hard, and then they're expensive. But my father invested that time and money, go to this school, finish. And when I was done, he contacted a nun he knew a long time ago in the US. She went to the College of New Rochelle in the US and talked about me to the president, who at that time was a female nun as well. They sent me an application, I applied. Now, they liked my grades so much, they gave me a full scholarship. I graduated from New Rochelle with bachelor's in both biology and chemistry, and that was in a long time ago for me now. Anyway, I had very good grades, so for you kids, this is what you need to be striving for. Then in between my college education, I worked for 2 years in the pharmaceutical companies. For 1 year, I worked with Pfizer, and we were working on drugs like Zyrtec, the allergy medication, which I myself, I take it today, and also azithromycin, the antibiotic. I'm sure a lot of people have been on that antibiotic. So after my 2 years of working between college, I went to medical school in Georgetown. And I did my doctorate in medicine, graduated in 2006. Then I moved here to San Antonio, and I did my residency in anesthesiology. I just finished residency in 2010, and I've been working for about 2 years now. So I practice anesthesia in San Antonio. For all our young ladies, that means if you need surgery, I'm the doctor that puts you to sleep, make sure you're safe, wake you up. Well, it involves more than that, but basically, that describes it. Why education matters? Education is very important, and here are a few reasons. It's considered a basic human right. It gives people the power to end poverty. Basically, uplifts you from poverty. It will empower women and girls to take control of their lives, to decide their fate, to get work. Education improves child survival and maternal health. A community that's educated will have the resources such as clinics, will have trained nurses, doctors, and the whole community will also be educated on how to take care of their children. They'll have healthcare available, and in that way the infant survival will be improved. Right now, Sudan has one of the worst statistics of children not making it to the age of 5. Education reduces hunger. With education, farmers know how to employ methods that will increase their crop yield. And the whole community, the whole country will know how to preserve food, store food, so that when it's now the dry season, people have food to eat because they have been able to store it in a good manner. Education helps the fight against HIV/AIDS. With education, our young women, or the community in general, will know how to prevent the spread of HIV/AIDS. Education is essential as a foundation for peace building and also to spur economic growth. Okay, does anyone know what this is? Well, a lot of the adults probably do, but any of the young people know what this picture shows? Yes, there you go, Suzanne. A blackboard and chalk. This is the symbol of the classroom in Africa. For some of us, for some of the youth in America, they've never seen a blackboard. They don't know what chalk is. But if you're going to school in South Sudan, you sit in the classroom, the teacher writes on the blackboard, and you copy in your notebook. And this is very tedious and time-consuming. And basically, the amount of information the teacher can write on the blackboard is limited. Because how much can you write Well, you can write a lot, but not as much as when we have the computer, we have notebooks, we have PowerPoint. Okay. This is some statistics that was collected by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So South Sudan right now is ranking very low in all indices for education. It's the last in the World League table for enrollment in secondary education, and it's the second last for net enrollment in primary level education. Girls have an extreme disadvantage in education. They are less likely to enter school, more likely to drop out. Today, a young girl in South Sudan is more likely to die in pregnancy or childbirth than reach grade 8. There's a big gender disparity in Sudan, or in South Sudan. For every, there are 5 girls enrolled for every 10 boys. Now, the average for the whole world is about 7 girls for every 10 boys. And as the classes go higher, when you reach secondary school, there are only 400 girls right now who are graduating from secondary school in South Sudan. Now, some of this gender disparity, I think a lot of us already know, or if I'll explain further, imagine a man in the village. You have some daughters, you have some sons, and you have limited resources, you have limited money. So who are you going to send to school? For these people, logically, they'll send their boys, because they're thinking, well, my girl is going to get married. Once she gets married, she's not considered part of my family. She's not part of her husband's family. All that I invested, the money, I'm not going to see any return on it. Yet if she gets married, I get the bride price. So for them also, it kind of makes sense that, okay, I'll educate my sons because they'll carry on my name, they'll stay in the family. Another reason is that there's so much physical manual labor in running the households. And a lot of this, in Africa, it falls on women. And those can involve, like we saw the ladies who demonstrated, collecting firewood, cooking, carrying water, washing clothes, taking care of the animals, farming. Most of this is all done by women. So even for girls who are in the city who are going to school, when they come home, they're faced with so much physical work that they don't have time to study. And when they don't have time to study, they cannot keep up like the boys can, and they're more likely to end up dropping out, or even just to fail and be kicked out of school. The textbooks are in short supply. This is a picture. Our parents look at us and see cows. This is a statement that a girl made a girl who's in 8th grade in Dengya School in Rumbek County. She was basically describing that for a lot of her classmates are pulled out of school to get married. The parents want the cows that they'll get from the bride price. And the cows could be anywhere from 12 cows, 30 cows. So for those parents, they are valuing the cows because that's immediate wealth. In the education, they don't see the benefit of it. And the benefit, well, of course, it's like later, years to come, but they don't see it. Going back to the statistics, there are huge shortages of trained teachers. The ratio of pupils to students is about 100 to 1. Most of the teachers have just the basic primary education, and only 12% of them are female. When you don't have teachers, how do you educate the population? This is a big challenge. The school infrastructure is weak. A lot of students are still learning under the tent, in a semi-permanent building, in the open air. 1/3 of the schools do not have safe drinking water. A lot of them do not have access to healthcare. They don't have pit latrines. So that's a challenge because when the children get sick, well, they go home. These are some historic causes of poor education in South Sudan. There are multiple causes, but the one I want to focus on, the main one really, has been the civil war. With the civil war, there's been chronic underfinancing of schools. The money was concentrated in northern Sudan. There was no money being made available for building schools in South Sudan or for investing in South Sudan. The oppressive practices of Khartoum government whereby they targeted school children and recruited them for fighting. changed the curriculum to Arabic so that it basically crippled South Sudanese from getting an education. Because a lot of South Sudanese, we started school in Juba and then you go to Khartoum and soon they're like, oh, we're changing the language from English to Arabic. How do you learn that? And you're already an adult. How do you change that? The effects of the war has been devastating. That's a mass poverty, displacement of people, diversion of resources into armed violence. These are some pictures